Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today's video is part of the Can't Sleep Creations All Things Witchy collaboration that I'm hosting with my friends Annie from Crafting with Indiana Jones, Dawn from Shabby Meets Bling, and Monica from Up All Night DIY. Today I'm going to be making two different types of witch hats. So for my first one here is this Cornucopia that I thrifted not that long ago. Got it for $3.99. I thought that was a great price because look, you get all these nice flowers and leaves too. But I'm not going to be using this for my hat, so I just need the Cornucopia. And these are wired in there, so I'm just going to clip them out. And I also need to take the little feet off and the little ring up here too. Just going to snip it off. And you know, if this was just a natural basket here, I would just leave it this color, but it is gold metallic looking, so it will get painted. Now for my brim, I have this placemat here that I think is the perfect size, and I am using some old placemats that I got from the Dollar Tree that I use for crafting. I did make it a little bit bigger here. I'm gonna have to tape these together and then cut it out. And now I need to add just a little bit more tape on here. And on the other side. And this is also going to get all covered up, so none of this nastiness will be showing. All right, I'm taking a small plate here and I'm going to make a hole. And this is so I can put it on top of a pumpkin. Guess you could always wear it too. I'm going to go ahead and get that cut out. All right, so now that that is done, I will be taking some of this burlap ribbon that I have and covering it, but I'm going to paint everything black first. Then of course I need to raise this up because I don't like the shape of this the way it is. So I will be raising it up. Now I'm building this up with some cardboard. You can see I have this taped underneath because of the shape of the cornucopia. I want my top of my witch hat to be pointing up just a little bit more, because if you do it the other way, it just points off to the side. All right, so I did cut the pieces here because I want to glue them down and make this more rounded. And I will be hot gluing on the cornucopia once it's been painted. And as you can see, it's upright a lot more than if you would have just attached it the other way. Now I'm going to get this all painted black, and while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to be adding some burnt umber here that's watered down on top of the green burlap here just to tone it down a bit. I'm going to just dry it up with my heat gun just a touch. Plus this also softens up the plastic because I want to make this a little pliable. Kind of have it more bent than straight. Yeah, I think that will look good. And this is going to get covered. I did paint it black and you can see it is peeling a little bit, but this is going to get covered up. Again, the heat gun changes the shape of the plastic placemats. All right, now that everything is painted black, I'm just testing this on here. And I'm going to get it hot glued on. I'm just going to use a lot of hot glue. And then I'm going to let it sit for a little bit. All right, now I'm going to be covering up the top of the brim with my sheet moss here. Just going to pull out some pieces and hot glue them on. And moss is very messy. But I thought this would give this a more organic look. Kind of like a forest witch. All right, I did notice I glued this on backwards. I kept looking at it going, hey, this doesn't look right. So I had to rip it off and I'm gonna re-glue this. All right, now that it's in the perfect position, I took some of my plaster paint and put it on there. I didn't like it being all that black. And I have this burlap ribbon that's wired. I'm going to cut off one of the wired edges. And I'm going to be hot gluing it around the hat right here just to cover up all that nastiness that I had to pull off. So that's okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this glued on, and then we can add a lot of pretty things. Now, I did have to piece it because of the shape of it, but that's okay. Everything is going to get covered up. I mean, you're still going to see some of the burlap, but I'm going to cover up those spots that I had to piece it with. So the first thing I want to do is take some leaves, and I'm going to be gluing them over those edges there, so you won't be seeing any of that. So I'm going to have the front of my hat be where I have the two leaves. So I have these little picks here that you get from Michael's, and I'm just going to glue one over here and one on the opposite side. And I'm just going to keep adding pieces until I get my desired look. All right, I'm going to continue with a few more pieces here on my front part of the hat. And I like this piece here, but it's just a little bit too long, so I'm going to cut it off. All right, that is all I'm going to do right here. I am going to go continue around the whole hat here and show you what it looks like. Okay, here we go. So this is perfect if you want to have this as a centerpiece on a table. It's all pretty everywhere else, but I do like this section here to be the front of my hat when I show you how I place this on my pumpkin. Now let's have a haunted house update. So here's that little balcony that I put on here. And I do have to cover up those holes, which I'm just going to be hot gluing on really thin cardboard in that section just to cover them up. All right, so I got my cardboard on here, and now since this spray paint I had was satin, I don't like the shininess. I'm just taking my matte black paint and going to be painting all of the black pieces and of course the balcony too, just to tone it down a bit. All right, now that that's done, I'm taking pewter gray and I'm going to be painting all of the siding on here. So the roofs and the trim on the windows and everything are going to stay black, but the siding is going gray. And then I will do another technique on the siding. So this is probably going to take maybe 3, maybe even 4 coats. I'm not sure. It's just not covering very well. Okay, so there's all the black, and this is 1 coat of the pewter gray. And some of it's still wet in spots. So I'm definitely going to have to do a little bit more. It might even take 4 coats, like I said. All right, so here I have 3 coats on. And of course this is all going to be messy right now because I'm going to go and do whatever technique I want to do on the gray, and then I will go back over the black pieces and fine tune everything. All right, so stay tuned for another update. So here's my inspiration for my whimsical hat. Can you believe this thing cost $391.85. I found this online. I love this hat, but and it's about 23 3/4 inches tall. And that it's going to be with that stand too. So I'm going to be making my own. So I just have my thin cardboard here. I took a plate to make my circle for my brim, because I'm going to make a small version of this, a little bit smaller version. Okay, and I like to use the thin because I have to be able to bend this. And I've had this shabby chic looking candlestick for a long time. I got it at the thrift store, and I'm finally going to put it to use. I think it's perfect for this little whimsical hat. So I'm just trying to keep this bent and everything, and I'm going to be using the styrofoam cone here, of course. Just going to kind of play with this because I want to make sure I can get that shape that it looks in the picture. All right, I'm going to go ahead and paint this black on both sides, but I'm not going to do the opposite side just yet. I'm going to wait until I have it glued onto the candlestick before I do the bottom. So I'm probably going to have to do a couple coats here. And my cone is just a little bit too tall, so I'm taking my little styrofoam cutter here and cutting that. And then I want to take my X-Acto knife and shave it up a little bit to smooth it out. I'm also going to take a little bit of sandpaper to it. All right, I have that done. I am going to take this wire that I have and stick it down inside the cone. And I'm going to use this to make my shape of my curlicue at the top. I think that's about enough. Just cut it off, and you want to twist it around to the shape that you need. And I'm going to take some aluminum foil and build up the top part of the hat. All right, I think I have this the way that I need it. Kind of liking the shape. And the next thing I want to do is a little bit of paper mache on it to cover up all the aluminum foil. So I'm just taking some Mod Podge that's watered down, and I'm using some pieces of paper towel. And I'm going to cover it. I'm just going to use one coat of the paper towels. Just one layer, I think, is all I need. Because I'm actually going to be covering this up after I paint it with something, which I'm getting ready to show you here. This is what I'm going to be using. Now, isn't this lace gorgeous? My friend Annie from Crafting with Annie Jones sent me this, and this is just perfect for this hat. Because I was trying to figure out how I could do this to make it look like the inspiration picture. So I'm just going to cut this here, and I'm going to put lots of Mod Podge on that brim. And then I'm going to place, if I can get it picked up here, I'm going to place that beautiful lace over here. I'm just going to press it down. I'll even use my heat gun on it a little bit. And when it's dry, I will cut off the excess. All right, here it is. I'm also going to use this little trim because I had a little trim going around the brim. Just going to hot glue this on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start to put this on, but first, since that's for a candle to go in there, I am taking my B7000 and a little bit of hot glue, and I'm going to glue this little wooden disc on here to give me more room to put hot glue on here for that brim. Just going to put a few dabs of the hot glue and put the wooden disc on. And then I'll be gluing that on. Okay, so now I have my brim all folded the way I want it, and this is all nice and dry. So I'm just going to be putting tons of hot glue on here. And place the brim where I want it. Okay, I also painted the bottom of it black and took some of this black tulle and Mod Podged it on to give it a little bit of a sparkle underneath. I think that looks so pretty. All right, this is all dry. And you know, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that it needs to be cut down just a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint it black here, and I did cut about 1.5 inches off. I thought it looked way too tall for how small my brim was. And I'm going to take that beautiful lace again and Mod Podge it on. This is going to be the tricky part, trying to get this on. So I'm just going to be doing my best here. It's not the easiest shape to put some fabric on. Now I have it done. It did take a little while to maneuver way up there where the curly Q is, but I think I got it looking really nice. Now it just needs to be hot glued onto the brim. And I did add a little bit of the paper towel I Mod Podged onto the bottom of the cone so it won't melt when I put the hot glue on. I'm going to place it where I want it. And I will let that dry, and then it's ready for its embellishments. All right, I have this ribbon here that I got last year from the Dollar Tree. And I have these little pieces I'm going to use for my embellishments. I'm going to thread this through here. This came off of another witch hat that I got from Temu for the little buckle. Just going to tack this on with a little bit of hot glue. And I have that little button there that I want to put in the middle. I have a black rose. I have some black feathers that I cut off of a boa that I have that I want to place on there because the picture was showing a feather. So I don't have a single feather, so I thought that would be kind of nice to put that on there. Kind of like that. Let's just bunch it in there. Stick the rose right there. Okay. I'm going to kind of try to place this on a box of tissue here so you can see this a little better. And I'm taking some of this little tulle with pearls in it from that His and Hers collection. I'm going to go around the rose so it kind of pops out from the feathers. I'm going to go ahead and glue that button. I got that from Hobby Lobby. Okay, I think that looks really pretty. But I want to add a few more things. I did add another piece of the tulle, and here's those little pearl embellishments that you get from the His and Hers collection. I'm going to put a couple of them in here. Okay. All right, I think that looks pretty. Let's see how they look. Now, I just did pictures of these because I have all my bins downstairs, but you can see how this looks on my pumpkin. This is a pumpkin that I made last year. And the secret to this pumpkin here is it turns around. It's a jack-o'-lantern that I made. So here's how your hat works perfect. You can have it look like a pumpkin or the jack-o'-lantern. Now let's check out the Whimsy hat. All right, my sweet friends, that's going to do it for the video today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and please be sure to check out everybody's videos I have the playlist link down below along with all my host channel links. I want to wish everybody a very wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.